your Chargers linebacker, Dan Henley, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. KeAndre and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LA Football Network. If this is your first time tuning in the show, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Dan Wolkenstein, happy bye week. We don't have to talk anything as it relates to potential matchups this week. We don't have to talk about bold predictions, final scores, anything of that nature. And as a matter of fact, Dan and I are taking a step back today because this is one of our favorite times of the year when we get to do these type of shows, especially when it's on bye week, especially when it's this late in the season, albeit week 12. The controller of the show is now in your hands. This is a full-fledged Chargers fan Q&A forum. Talk about anything that you please as it relates to the current status of the Chargers, what they need to improve on over the next 6 weeks in order to make a playoff push. And yes, oh yes, as I promised a few weeks ago, we're going to sprinkle in some draft talk into there as well. So the show of Chargers Unleashed is now in your collective hands. Dan Wolkenstein, happy Saturday to you, sir. Good morning. You look like you haven't finished your first cup of coffee yet.
Nope, right here.
Thought so. But how are you feeling?
Feeling good. Honestly, it's nice to have a more stress-free weekend, Chargers related anyways. It's an interesting time for this Chargers team, for Chargers fans. I think there's a lot of introspective thoughts here in terms of what this team is, who they are moving forward, what the goals are. But yeah, so take a step back. Love these kinds of shows where we get to just listen a little bit more, talk a little bit less, and see what Chargers fans have to say. Whether it's about Chargers, whether it's about what folks are drinking in the morning, put in the chat. Whether it's about the NFL draft, whether it's whatever. Across the NFL, we're seeing lots of things going on. Guys getting hurt, guys getting healthy, but we're here to talk about all things Chargers live Q&A this time around. Jake, my friend, how are you?
Could be better. All things being equal, could be better. But it's moments like these where you just get to disconnect from life for the better part of an hour, and it feels better. So I'm ready to get things started. Let's talk some football.
Let's talk some football. Matthew Dahl says, I'm drinking pre-workout, about to hit the gym. Well done. Well done. Jake, what are you drinking today?
I already had my pre-workout and the gym before this morning.
I thought you took pre-workout before the episode. I was like,
before the episode. No. No. Sometimes I normally have my, energy drinks, Celsius, whatever it is on the show. Not today. I think I got enough of the pre-workout this morning.
What up, Jake and Dan? I'm a coffee and ganja dude. No, Brad didn't peg you as a ganja dude.
Not at all.
Jake, I gotta ask, what's that football behind you?
Oh, the one that's just over my shoulder?
Yes.
So believe it or not, I actually won that in a contest on Twitter. It's actually a football that is signed by Jimmy Johnson, of all people. Say what you will about Jimmy Johnson and the Dallas Cowboys. I loved the persona of Coach Johnson. I loved his mentality as a head coach. And honestly, it's the second thing that I've actually won on Twitter in my history of contests. The other one, which you can't see because it's actually closer down in this area, is a Tyson Fury Wilder boxing glove during their first matchup that they had. So strangely enough, I had some good luck on Twitter a number of years ago. But the Jimmy Johnson one there, the one in the bottom corner that has the Chargers logo on it, that is signed by a number of different Chargers players that's on there. Obviously, the little mini helmet, Dan and I know that one very well because that's got none other than Derwin James' signature on it. So there's some good memorabilia in these cabinets, and there's actually more in the closet behind me.
Attaboy. I'm drinking pre-workout, and now I'm on the shitter before the gym.
Because of the pre-workout? That
Sounds like it. Well, let's get some of these comments. Folks, if you have any questions, comments, topics, put them in. Again, you guys drive the show today. Jake, as we let a few minutes of folks putting in some questions and comments, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Do you want to talk about our friends over at Sleeper?
See, again, sleep at the wheel. But yes, I'll make sure we talk about it. The NFL season is here, which means you now have a chance to win up to 1,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football with Sleeper. Football has never been more exciting than it is right now with players like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Herbert. Pick on these stats for these stars like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 times payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right, and you could win big. Just make sure to use the promo code ChargersLAFB, and you can get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper use for details. Currently operating in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today.
JLM79 says Herbert will get sacked twice on Sunday. Yes, I know it's a bye week.
It's a fair prediction. That is not a bold prediction at all.
0.5 over or under sacks for Justin Herbert. Honestly.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely over. It's definitely over.
Jake, why do I get excited when I see you?
I don't know.
Sandy 4700.
I'm not even that entertaining or intelligent, so I don't understand, but I appreciate the comments.
Attaboy. Justin will not play in week 18 because he will be in a full body cast after playing Houston's defense. Jake, did you see that?
Oh.
I mean,
Wow.
I got like flashbacks to the Chargers playoff game. I'll tell you that much. But did you watch that? Was it 9 sacks? 8 sacks?
8 sacks. 8 sacks. Yeah, something to look forward to, right? And we'll obviously talk about that because there are a lot of changes that need to take place for this Chargers team on both sides of the football as it relates to making a playoff push. And again, outside of the Raiders game that you get coming off of the bye week, that last stretch of 5, there's no gimmies in that whatsoever. Dallas, Philly, Houston, Kansas City, and Denver for a second time. That is going to be a tough stretch to go through the playoffs. And again, it's of note considering what Houston did. And you make light of this based off of what we unfortunately saw during the Jacksonville game. When you can have the Tennessee Titans defense without Jeffrey Simmons and without Arden Key still get to Justin Herbert 6 times and hit him an additional 7. Like, I don't care what defense it is. It could be the 32nd ranked defense in every statistical category at every statistical position. The way that this Chargers offensive line has played up until this point, especially with the injuries taking front. But again, I'm not taking injuries into account because nobody can predict that. But as of right now, collectively, as a group, as they have played this season, it could be the 32nd ranked defense in every category, and they're still going to find a way to get to Justin Herbert. I don't care. The offensive line has just been that bad. So when you're talking about a Dallas team that now just acquired Quinton Williams, when you're talking about Philly's defensive line with as deep as they are, when you saw what Houston did to the Buffalo Bills on Thursday night, yeah, that doesn't give you anything to look forward to. You know, Denver's defense is tough as nails, and you had to go through hell just to get the win in week 3 against them. There's a lot of things that need to change as far as this group goes.
Yeah, I would say so. Definitely, this is kind of like that introspective thoughts that I was saying. I think Jim Harbaugh kind of alluded to it. Like, there's a lot of football things need to be better. I'm paraphrasing. I mean, yeah. Talk about a crash, right? Like, you from that Steelers game, you know, maybe ultimate hopium, and then followed by the Jags game where it was just a lot of PTSD.
I wasn't aware. I had found this out shortly after the Jags game, Dan, that there are actually there's a secret bye week in there for all NFL teams. Did you know about this?
You didn't know? You didn't know?
Yeah. Well, I found out about it because the Chargers essentially, the Chargers essentially had a bye during that Jacksonville game. Nobody showed up collectively. All 3 phases of their team were just out of it. But in seriousness, Liam Cohen knows how to beat Jesse Minter with a very simple game plan. he has proven that. And we talked about that leading up to the game, unfortunately, because if you go back a year to that Tampa Bay game and what he did in terms of just running the ball, making it simple, putting that defense back on its heels, he was able to do that. And then for the Chargers, unfortunately, the Jags defense, who came into that game 8th in pass rush win rate, but not the best when it came to actually finishing tackles and getting to the quarterback. Oh my God, did they have a field day after what they gave up the week prior in a 19-point, 19-point lead. They squandered it, and they ended up losing that game the week before. They came in prideful. They knew what was on the line for their season. And just when you see the collective meltdown that the offensive line had, you couldn't run the football. The Jaguars essentially just did whatever they could. They jumped out to an early lead. They were able to control the pace. Justin Herbert, despite being hit, didn't even have his best game. He looked like he was out of sorts for a majority of the game. When you have Trevor Penning, that of all things is benched for Austin Deculus, when you have the Chargers defensive line and their edge rushers getting no push whatsoever, no pressure, and even down for the Jaguars, their best offensive lineman in the season, they were getting owned in the run game, Dan. It was a very simple game plan that was set forth by Liam Cohen, and they hit on every single cylinder and could do whatever they want. So, of course, we want to get away from that game as much as possible, but that's about as bad as you can go into a bye week, to have to eat, chew, stomach, and sit on a loss for 2 weeks before you get a chance to flush that one.
Yeah, if you want to be hungry, even after Thanksgiving, play the Jags, apparently, and play Liam Cohen, at least for the Chargers. And that was bad. If you want motivation, you got it, right? Like, we'll see what this Chargers team can do after the bye. But and this is probably a topic for another day, but you look at the remaining schedule. You talked about the teams, like almost all of them, aside from Raiders, got better at the trade deadline and are doing better because of it. The Jags, Jacoby Myers, feasted. Trade deadline acquisition. Eagles got their man from Miami.
Phillips.
Eagles defensive front. We all know about that.
Dallas looks pretty good with Quentin Williams, doesn't he?
Quentin Williams had like historic numbers his first day as a Cowboys defensive lineman. We just saw it happen in Houston. CJ Stroud's coming back. I mean, the Chiefs somehow are they 5-5 right now? They're playing the Colts.
Yep. That's a huge game.
But that's not going to be a cakewalk. I mean, hell, even the Raiders, they got a defensive front that scares the living daylights out of me. As a Chargers fan, watching what this Chargers offensive line looks like, you got Max Crosby coming, you're like, oh shit, we are owned. and I think for me, what was so apparent in the juxtaposition of the Chargers-Steelers game versus the Jags game was the recipe for success is pretty clear for this Chargers team as it currently stands with its current construction and folks not playing because of injury. The way they win is they have to have a defense that is dominant with the Steelers game. Dominant. That defense has to be humming. They have to have a run game. Justin Herbert needs 5 to 7 plays where he can be Superman. And don't turn the ball over.
It sounds so basic, but that is tough for the Chargers to get all of that in a game.
You can't expect the offensive line to hold up. Like, I just don't. I don't. So how do you work around it, right? You bring in more guys for protection. And in theory, that should work. In theory. You want your playmakers to make plays outside, right? Trey Harris, Quentin, Ladd, Keenan, Gadsden, hopefully Hampton when he gets back, Vidal. Like, you expect those guys to overcome by getting the ball out quickly. But more importantly than arguably all of this, maybe not defense, but more importantly than all of this stuff is Greg Roman has to stop being stubborn. Because we've seen what an offense looks like when Greg Roman is in his bag and is making up for and adjusting for their lack of offensive line. And we have seen what this offense looks like when they go back to a typical Greg Roman offense. When you just don't have the horses to support that and you get absolutely railroaded. It's simple. Dominant defense, run game, 5 to 7 plays of Justin Herbert Superman. That's it. In a run game. And it was really demoralizing for me. The offensive side of the ball, and I don't know about other folks in the comments. Like, you guys let me know. But when I saw that Jags game, the offensive side of the ball, like, that was almost expected. Like, I went into that game being like, they're going to have to overcome this. Like, they're going to have to maybe score. Like, hopefully, if they can get to 20, I think they might be able to win. But it was the defense for me that just, where did it go? You look at the 3-4 games prior compared to that defense, and it was just like a shell of itself.
In that 3-game stretch, the Chargers had given up an average of 8.6 points per game. In that 3-game stretch that they won before the Jacksonville game. And then you get 35 plus hung up on you.
And we can talk about excuses, right? Like Girthy Guitarist says, oh, the defense was gassed because the offense was so bad. True. The defense was also bad. They gave up 21 points the first half? 14?
I didn't see any push or pass rush that was coming after Trevor Lawrence in that game. I saw them getting absolutely owned in the trenches. So while this is correct, it's also not the full story. I mean, the defense just wasn't doing anybody any favors. Aside from that first drive of the Jaguars where Trevor Lawrence overthrows his receiver and that's 4th down, that's about as good as you got. And yeah, you had some questionable PI calls in there as well that netted you some points. But still, as a defensive performance, there's a reason why Khalil Mack was pissed off. And he wasn't blaming any of that on the offense, I assure you.
How did folks in the chat? We all handle beatdowns like that, or just in life in general differently. But Jake, when that game ended this past week, how did you cope? How did you manage that? Like, what was your mentality?
I immediately turned on the Denver Broncos Kansas City Chiefs game, and thankfully 3 hours later, I felt slightly better.
Oh, so you watched football?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Normally people just like turn it off, say, okay, let's open the bottle, let's have a nice, rest of the Sunday and try to forget about this, scream, yell, all that type of stuff, which Dan knows this. I am accustomed to some angry text every now and again, but that's why Dan is the wall for that. That's why I don't do the angry tweets. So yes, I definitely I got all the angry tweets. Yeah, I definitely had my frustrations. Trust me, I'm not immune to what I watched on Sunday, and nor am I going to let it slide. But at the same time, hey, what is your pathway of getting over it as quickly as possible? Watching one of your division rivals lose and go to 500. Not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, literally, my daughter is raised in a Chargers household. And, like, the thing she knows about the Chargers is their colors. She knows Justin Herbert. She knows some of the players. She gets excited when they win. But also, no matter what week it is, football isn't even on the TV. You'll randomly hear, did the Chiefs lose? And damn it, that weekend ended with, yes, honey, the Chiefs lost. And she says, yay. Yeah, feels a little better. Feel a little better. Let's get some of these questions real quick, Jake. Let's catch up. If Greg Roman is relieved of his duties next year, can you name some offensive coordinator candidates that you would like to?
Oh, man. It's all going to really depend on who becomes available. I think it's a little bit too early to start predicting that at this point. In terms of just, coordinator to coordinator, it's more going to be, if you're going to make a shift like that, it's more going to be offensive assistance on who's probably going to take the job. Obviously, you wouldn't want to have, depending on the name of who gets released or head coaching changes, I think it's just a little bit too early to start predicting that at this point. Because again, just like free agency can change anything, you never really know who's going to become available at that point in time. And also, if it ends up happening, that Jim Harbaugh, in one way or another, is going to want to bring someone that's going to mesh with the rest of his coaching mentality, as well as whoever's remaining from the offensive side as far as the coaching mentality. It could be a complete overhaul by the end of this year. You may even say if it gets to that, if Greg Roman is ultimately released and maybe offensive line coach might end up taking a change in there as well, there's a variety of different things that could ultimately change for this team. But at this point in time, depending on who becomes available, how many changes you're actually going to make, if it's not just one to the offensive line, it could, or the offensive coordinator, it could be a variety of different ones. So I think it's just a little bit too early to tell right now.
Yeah, I'm forgotten locale. I'm kind of with you.
I don't disagree with this either. You may see year 3 of Greg Roman.
I don't
there
think
is
Greg
good enough of a chance of that.
I don't
There's
think
good
Greg
enough
Roman,
of a chance of that.
And again, like, does he have flaws? Absolutely. But at the same time, and again, like, what you asked for of your coordinator, right? If this team had the guy that they had brought in on the offense, they have exactly what Greg Roman needs to have a kick-ass offense. You bring in Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. You add those to this team. You add Omarion, Hampton, and Najee Harris to this team. It's a whole different outlook. I'd put this team up against anyone in either an adjusted Greg Roman offense or hell, just let Greg Roman just beat the shit out of you. Go trench warfare. I'm fine with it. But there's something to be said about being able to adjust to to your roster construction in the moment.
That's what it is. And I will give Greg Roman credit for this. I think that his mentality, when you look at how he was really constructing his offense in year 1, it was rely on the run game really when it wasn't even working. If you remember that first 3-week stretch when it was just all J.K. Dobbins, and everybody was asking questions like, why isn't Justin Herbert, taking over this offense, even when they're having a winning record at this point in time? I think that he took a much better mentality of putting the ball in Justin Herbert's hands. And you saw that from the jump this year against Kansas City, and you saw that through the first 3 weeks of the year. But at times, that has become Greg Roman's worst possible enemy. To have Justin Herbert taking 5 and 7-step drops when your offensive line is getting absolutely obliterated. Look at the New York Giants game. Look at the Commanders game. Look at last week against Jacksonville. We could go through so many different games where that same game plan, even when the Chargers are either having a lead or playing from behind, and you're still having Justin Herbert play 5 to 7-step drops instead of playing 1, 2, 3, get the ball out as quickly as you can. Make it a short game. Negate some of that pass rush. Maybe mix in some screens. It's been so inconsistent with Greg Roman. And Dan, you mentioned it earlier. You look at the game plan of Minnesota, Pittsburgh, what they were doing in that game. Yes, the running game was succeeding, but you were also mixing it up in a standpoint to where you were protecting Justin Herbert more than the offensive line was because you were scheming properly, because your game plan. And the fact that when you know that this is the offensive line and the horses that you have that you're moving forward with, how you do not craft this better on a week-to-week basis is so confusing. It does not make any sense.
And honestly, as much as you want to sit here and shit on Greg Roman, people might not like this. If we're going to have a frank conversation, it's not just Greg Roman that's the issue. if you're really watching that game and you take out the lens of I hate Greg Roman, Justin needed to be better. He held on to the ball a lot. And sometimes there were those 3-step drops that were schemed in. No one was open. Justin tried to make magic happen. Gets crushed.
Oh, he had a bad game.
He gets crushed. You see some guys dropping balls. You look at the interior offensive line, or hell, just the entire offensive line at this point. They couldn't even protect for the 3-step drop at times. And so as much as you want to be on, Mike Devlin or Greg Roman, like, it's a collective bad effort. And so how do you fix it, right? Like, you got to have the horses, you got to play better, and you got to coach better.
I think we could probably say that when the Raiders game comes around, that will end the streak of the healthy scratches for Will Dissly. Why he's been a healthy scratch for the last 3 weeks is beyond me when you know that you have an offensive line this bad.
I don't get it.
Best blocking tight end is a healthy scratch. That's another one.
Like, genuinely, that's like the one calling card that Will Dissly has where you can rely on that. Like, he will block his ass off for you. And that's like the one thing that your team desperately needs. I know Orande Gadsden is going off, but
your favorite package, Dan, with the big ugly, or how do they call it? With I forget who gave him the name, but when you go in jumbo package with the Matlock, the Tucker Fisk, and the Will Dissly, like, they have the big guys in order to gain positive yardage. Why you go away from something that seemingly works and try to recreate the wheel every time? Again, I know you can't necessarily be predictable. And what Dan was alluding to is that in-game adjustments for Greg Roman, especially when they're playing from behind, is not that good. From a week-to-week standpoint, you could see one great team, hence to the Pittsburgh standpoint, which was mainly the defense. But you could see this team firing on all cylinders like you saw in Minnesota, or just a few weeks later, you could see how abysmal and they look collectively as a group in the game in Jacksonville. There's a lot of things that need to change moving forward. Dan, let's talk about personnel standpoint. Jim Harbaugh talked about this moving forward. I forget if it was Popper that asked him or if it was someone else, but they threw out the idea of Jamaree Salyer stepping in at left tackle.
I still don't get why he's not.
Jim Harbaugh said that is an option that they're looking at. I mean, if there's going to be any time that you make this type of a change, and in my mind, you need to make more than just that change. But, I mean, you saw what you had in Trevor Penning pretty damn quick. Yes, he had two good drives with some run blocking, and then from that point in time, it really went downhill for him. But again, collectively as a group, Trey Pipkins did not play well. Bradley Bozeman did not play well. Mekhi Becton, once again, in and out of the lineup. All of these things are force multipliers. And again, to this question down below, it affects how Zion Johnson plays as well. Zion Johnson, while you could say has maybe been the best offensive lineman that you've had this year,
what world are we living in?
It's not really that big of a statement considering how bad the other four are. So to this question, do I think that Zion is going to be back next year, given that they would need a new center and a right guard? I don't know. Remember, they didn't pick up his fifth-year option before the season started.
I think it depends on that.
And then they tried the experiment at center, which lasted about a week in preseason before they named Bradley Bozeman the starter from that point out. Why haven't you tried the one guy that you brought in just to see, again, at this point in time, your offensive line is playing so bad right now. What's it going to hurt to make a change at the center position with Andre James just to see how it is? Now, the extension of this question And again, when it comes to free agency and trying to predict who the Chargers are going to keep between now and next March, we're not going to try to do that. But if you look at notable free agents, there's quite a few that they have in the trenches on both sides of the football. Trevor Penning, Zion Johnson, Trey Pipkins. Then you look at the opposite side of the football, Tier Tart, Deshaun Hand. Like, you got to reload at the trenches in one way or another next year. There's no question about it. So with a healthy Joe Alt and with a healthy, God willing, Rashawn Slater back next season, once again, this offensive line is going to look extremely different. There's not even a guarantee that Mekhi Becton could be back next year. There's going to be such an overhaul to this offensive line, both in free agency and the draft alike, to predict. But as far as Zion goes, I don't know, because to me there hasn't been something that outstanding.
I think it's a price tag question.
There hasn't been something outstanding to me that says yes, that warrants a second contract. And again, yes, he might look like the best offensive lineman that you have out of the 5, but how bad are the other 4 that it looks that way?
And again, like, Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt are great at tackle, but you hear a lot of people talk about that force multiplier adage. Like, Rashawn Slater makes Zion Johnson a hell of a lot better.
Joe Alt makes Zion Johnson better.
And so not having both of those, like, again, it's like worst case, like, how is this always happening to the Chargers? But like, it's really hard to to put it on Zion Johnson, because Zion Johnson would look a lot better, or if you want to call it a lot worse, when you're comparing the other offensive linemen, right? Like, put Zion Johnson next to Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater and say, who's your best offensive lineman? Like, it's not even close.
Mekhi Becton looked like a hell of a lot better offensive lineman when he was playing in Philly with the offensive lineman that they had. And granted, he probably would be playing a lot better right now if he was playing next to Joe Alt and not Trey Pipkins. I'll give it that. It is a force multiplier.
To me, though, I don't necessarily, I wouldn't say Zion re-signing is like a priority.
No, I wouldn't even call that. I wouldn't even say that. There hasn't been enough for me to see. And I'm not just going to say yes because it's a default to say, oh, okay, well, you were the better offensive lineman out of collectively the worst of 32 teams that were put out there.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, because think about some of the names that they're going to have to decide on. Yes, they have a ton of money. We can get this for a second. They got a ton of money in cap. But some of the names that they're going to have to resign, you mentioned kind of the trench guys. Didn't bring up Khalil Mack. Didn't bring up Keenan Allen. I think Tito is up for a contract. Denzel Perryman is up for a contract. Odafe Owe is up for a contract. St. Juice is going to be there. They're going to have to decide on Mekhi Becton. I mean, there's a lot of dudes there. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. If Zion Johnson sees a second contract, in my opinion, as it stands right now, is that you keep some offensive line consistency. And that's about it. And that's my opinion. Doesn't mean that it's absolutely true. But from all of the rest of the bad that you have on your offensive line right now, there's a lot of changes that need to be made. So you're going to keep some people for continuity for Justin Herbert.
I think the priority is the tackles.
Yes. But I wouldn't stand here and say, like, oh, yeah, Zion Johnson is getting a second contract because the play has been stellar, because it hasn't. It's been the best out of your 5, but that's not really making a huge statement.
No. But I think change is required. That part is certain. There's not a chance in hell Bozeman is their center next year.
Well, we said that going into this season.
Well,
and it still happened.
Fool me twice, shame on me. There's no chance. in my opinion, they should have. I could see the writing on the wall, right? Like Zion Johnson brought back, Mekhi Becton brought back, and we run it back because we haven't seen what this could look like with Joe Alt and with Rashawn Slater. That I can see. Like I can see that. And I can get on board, maybe. There ain't a damn thing I've seen from Bradley Bozeman that makes me believe that he is the best option at center. With his leadership, with his flopping, with his I'm not even gonna get into all the other stuff. Have you all seen that play?
I don't think anybody has missed that play.
God. Jake, let's get some of these voicemails. Got a few of them here. 323-902-7586, number of the hotline. Let's get to somebody's hotline and see what we're feeling like. Number one.
The fuck? Oh.
Great if I could hear it. There we go.
What the fuck was that? My God. They kicked the living shit out of us.
Ooh, okay. This is post Jags.
Post Jags. Okay.
Is that who we are? Or were we the team that beat the Steelers last week?
I'm telling you, like the juxtaposition of those.
That didn't look like a Jim Harbaugh coach team. And I don't know. That was just a piss poor game plan by Roman, I thought. I don't know why we thought Penning would give us the ability to have 5 and 7 step drops all game. Man, we just got the shit beat out of us. On to next week, fellas.
We're in next week. Bye. Love it.
Yeah, in short, this is the 6-game stretch that inside that locker room, that's your question. Who are you? Who are you? And when you now have to go up against the toughest run of your schedule to end the season, it's unfortunate that we've had this conversation before. We had this conversation after the Chargers started 3-0, and then they dropped 3 of their next 4. We've had this conversation before. And it's unfortunate when you have these type of inconsistencies. Now look, I'll take 3-1 over 1-3 any day. But I think it's just the way that the Chargers got blown out and their offensive line proved that it really does not matter the opponent of who they're going up against defensively. The offensive line is either going to make or break their season. And it cannot be just on Justin Herbert, especially when you can't run the football. When you literally are at running back 5 in the middle of the Jags game when Kamari Vidal goes down for a period of time.
But see, like I think that premise is flawed because you can't rely on the offensive line. Like to me, it's not about the offensive line. We know that offensive line is awful.
Yes.
Like, so how do you win in spite of that? And so for me, it's like this team will go as far as Jesse Minter goes. If that defense can keep them in games, you can win a 19-16 style game, right? Like,
how often does that happen, though, Dan?
That's what I'm. So for 3 weeks, it happened straight, and you're like, "Oh shit, here we go."
But it also happened in that Colts game where you tried to keep them in there, or sorry, not the Colts game. I think it was the Commanders game where you took a 10-point lead, but then at the same time, when you're relying on your defense to keep you in games, when you know your offensive line is probably going to go 3 and out the next series, or turn the ball over, or Justin Herbert's going to get sacked in any type of fashion, it is a bad formula to go up against. And again, I frame that more upon how you're scheming the game, how you're scheming each drive. And back to Dan's original point that he was talking about earlier, it's in-game adjustments. I know you can't go into the same game plan every week against different opponents. It's just not going to work that way. That's not how you play to your offensive strengths, and that's not how you attack the opponent's weaknesses. But when you can't make in-game adjustments or adjustments to be made that can bring you back from playing catch up against an opposing team. That's where it's really flawed.
So I wanted to bring this up. This was, folks who are watching, this is what Jake and I had predicted going into the season, record-wise. Going into the season, before the Rashawn Slater stuff, before the season starts, this is where we were at. On the right is myself, and I miraculously, perfectly predicted the Chargers win-loss record as it stands right now at 7-4. Jake had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4. You had 8 wins. So Jake had 8-3.
Oh, up until this point, you mean?
Up until this point.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. And this is, I believe, what perspective is important, right? With everyone healthy, they are exactly where I thought they would be. Win-loss games, whatever it is, final record 7-4. 7-4, 7-4, 7-4. So, am I doing that right? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes.
Got it?
Yep. So do I have 9 and 8? Is that what I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I do. Okay. I have 9 and 8 here.
To finish the season.
This is what I had going into the season. And people looked at me like I was a hater. I will say, I did think I may have moved one of those losses to a win at one point. But regardless, you got games against the Cowboys, who are getting better. You got games against the Raiders, who you should win, even with this atrocious offensive line, right? Like, there's still a path to 9 wins, and I'd argue there's probably a path to 10, but you got to win those too. So how do they get there? Honestly, let's just be real for a second. Like, how do they get there? Bobby Hart's coming back, which is hilarious that we are now like crossing fingers to get Bobby Hart back. When he was signed, everyone's like, "Oh God, please!" So Bobby Hart's coming back. That should help. Omarion Hampton's coming back. That should definitely help. You're getting some guys back here in the next week or two. So, can your defense rise? Get back to what you were 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago? Like, that's what you need. If you get a run game, okay, Omarion Hampton, big deal. If you can have a defense that balls out, and it's in there, right? It's in there. We've seen it. You saw it all last year, and you've seen it at glimpses this year. And with Bobby Hart back in, whoever else, let Justin Herbert have 5 to 10 plays to be Superman and run the hell out of the ball. Like, that's your recipe for success. Don't turn the ball over. Run game. Rely on your defense to keep you in it. And, of course, special teams matters. That's how you win. Like, that's how a Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh team wins right now. And do I see that happen? Absolutely. I can see that happening. I trust Jesse Minter even after that Jacksonville game. Like, that was insane. But Jesse Minter's a damn good coach. He's a damn good coach. But you have to win the little things, right? Like, again, I am not relying on this offensive line to all of a sudden come out and just go gangbusters. Like, it's just an irrational thought. But I do expect Justin Herbert to play more efficiently, get the ball out, whether that's because of the scheme or because he just knows after 3, 4, 5 steps, you're toast. I expect the defensive front to go ape shit. They should. They are good. Jesse Minter, I think, can scheme it up. Trust Cameron Dicker. Like, that's your recipe. The games of 42-41, right, with no... Like, that's not how they're going to win. They're going to have to win ugly. They're going to have to win those Houston Texans-style games, the Denver Broncos-style games, the Eagles type of games, the the Steelers types of games where like you're battling for points. It's 9-7 going into halftime. Game's on the line. You're up 16-14 and you're going for a game-winning field goal. Like that's how they have to win. But you can't go out and give up touchdown after touchdown against a team and you're down going into the second half. 2 scores. Like you're not going to win that. You're just not. So, soapbox moment for a second. I apologize.
No, I don't disagree. The only bright spot that you really have to hang on right now is the defense. And you can take it, elevate that to whatever you think of, considering what you just saw against Jacksonville, or you go back to the Indy game and some of the bad performances, or against Washington where they scored 27 unanswered points on you. But I trust the defense more than I trust the trenches of the offensive line, because that's going to dictate so much as it relates to a win or a loss for this team. And I agree with Dan's assessment. It's just like, that's the formula. I don't think you're going to see the Chargers beat anyone by 2 scores for the remainder of the season. I do not see that at all. This is a 1-score battle the rest of the way through. And yes, that includes the Raiders game, because it's a divisional opponent, and I don't care what you think of the Raiders, they still always come to play the Chargers tough.
Yes.
Regardless of where it is. So, yeah, it's going to be close games the entire way through, and that's going to have to be the formula that gets you in the playoffs. And yes, Justin Herbert is still going to have Superman moments, but it's like he's going to have to hit on every single one of them in order to win these type of games. Dallas is going to be an interesting one because of how prolific that offense is. You may have to be in a position where to say, okay, we either have to outscore them or we're toast.
They're toast. If that is the case, they're toast. Period, in my opinion. Next voicemail.
Memo to the Chargers. Howard Winter was over 2.5 weeks ago. And I know that was Brian Staley wearing a Harbaugh costume yesterday's game. So that's why the team was so awful, because they follow Staley's advice.
Fair.
And not Harbaugh's. Harbaugh wasn't there. It was Brian Staley wearing a Harbaugh costume. Halloween's over, folks. Let's go, Chargers. Beat the Raiders. Let's go.
I like it. Say the piece. Flush it as fast as you can. On to Raiders week.
I mean, I don't know how you just flush that.
No, but the easiest way to flush is if you had like a Thursday night football game, or a game this week. But you have to eat, sleep, and unfortunately think about all of that for 2 weeks before you get back to an opportunity to flush that game. It's bad.
Next voicemail.
Hi guys, it's Mike from Missouri. So I have a live broadcast scheduled for tomorrow. I'm going to be at work. So here's a question observation. After watching the Texans last night destroy the Bills offensive line.
Yeah.
Oh God. Like that. I was so, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, hello, darkness, my old friend. Like,
first time.
I'm just wondering, what are we going to do if we manage to make it into the playoffs? Got to go with 1 tight end, 2 tight ends.
7.
I'd rather have Herbert have 1 available receiver with a tight window and miss it than have him run around and get drilled and still not complete passes, you know. Hoping that Omarion Hampton actually does come back. He seems to be the mystery man. We don't even know if he's still on the planet.
It's a little harsh. Yeah. We've seen him. He has no longer had the boot. He's been working off to the side. Like they've talked about him probably being back after the bye for weeks now.
Because I never hear anything about it.
Well, there you go. Just said it.
Just saying. Be nice to know something. Anyway, can't overlook the Raiders. They want to try to beat us just because. And then, of course, we got Philly, Chiefs, Broncos, Texans. Yeah, so it's a rough stretch here, guys. If they
Sounds like he's had like 4 drags of cigarette at this point.
make it through, then I'll be a believer in the Harbaugh effect again. But otherwise, I'm kind of doubting it now with the way that they've gotten hammered a couple of times. Very un-Harbaugh-like.
I picture him. What's that Matthew McConaughey meme where he's like looking at his phone and he's got the cigarette like this?
Yes, exactly.
That's how I pictured that he was watching the Houston Texans game.
Yep. I'll talk about it in a second. Remind me about the Broncos week 17 game or week 18 game in a second. Last voicemail, Jake. Let's see what you got to say.
My reaction to the game is our team hit the wall. Every team hits the wall at some point during the season. I wasn't that pissed about it. Very unhappy about it. Very unhappy that they didn't.
What's the line between not pissed but very unhappy?
Anger and rage.
I wasn't pissed. I wasn't pissed, but I was very unhappy.
Yes.
Not adjust. They don't seem to adjust very well in the second half.
But who's they? Like, you can say all you want about Greg Roman not adjusting and play calling, all that kind of stuff, but like,
say the team.
That bleeds through to all of them.
I mean, collectively, the team played bad. It wasn't just Greg Roman or the offense.
Yeah.
Didn't do you any favors, but collectively, the team got their ass kicked.
And fuck the Raiders and fuck the Chiefs. Fuck the Broncos.
Just had to get that one in there.
Just had to get that in there. So, are we at the point now where we are hoping that the Broncos like lock up the division, can't get the 1 seed, so they rest players for week 18? Because think about this for a second. Let's say that they're 7-4. Let's say they get wins against the Jags. That didn't happen. Wins against the Raiders, and somehow beat the Cowboys. Right, that's 9 wins. Or just give me 2 wins between now and week 18.
That is way too much to predict at this point.
No, but I'm saying, imagine that. Imagine having to rely on a second string Broncos team to not play well.
I get that, but you have to handle your business for the next several weeks before you're even in that conversation, and you also have to ward off the Chiefs, and they have to still keep losing games in order for that to even mean something.
That's what I'm saying. Give them 2 wins, and Denver runs away with it. Denver could very well be like, I'm not playing that game. It's not worth it. And like, that could be the ticket in. Like, just saying. It'd be hilarious if that was how it ended up happening.
That would be sad to kind of rely on that, but hey, it happens to teams every year when that takes place. Hell, the Chiefs have given playoff avenues because they've rested some of their starters in the final weeks of the season and years prior.
A lot of people are talking about anyone buying a Bo Nix is in for a reality check in the playoffs. Let's just say I had him on my fantasy team to start the season, and he has been on my bench ever since.
Look,
and I think I just released him.
Bo Nix, 3/4 of a game hasn't looked good for several weeks, but when they've needed him to look good, it's also the fact that defense is so damn good that they keep giving him opportunities to do so. That's also it.
Mm-hmm. Hanan Derry. Guys, let's have a discussion about Darius Davis. He is 31st as a returner, and he avoids blocking duties when the ball is kicked to the other returner. I mean, what has Darius Davis done this season that has impressed you? Like, I'm just having a frank conversation right now. Like, has he done stuff on offense that warrants a roster spot? Like, I'm trying to boil this down.
Has he done stuff on everybody? Offense? You're talking. You're listening to one of the historically bigger Darius Davis defenders.
Yeah,
here that is now saying this.
Like, has Darius Davis impressed you on offense? I'll let you answer that. Has he impressed you on special teams? Because if he's not impressed you on offense, he damn well better impress you on special teams for the roster spot. Now, Is he 100% healthy? I don't know. I don't think so. But, I mean, you got KLS just chilling back there, not playing, not even active. Like, could you do a healthy scratch and see what happens? Because, I mean, I don't know.
Outside of Darius Davis, I mean, the special teams unit as a whole has taken a step back. Let's not forget that. It's not like Darius Davis is the only weak point of this special teams group.
He was supposed to be the strong point.
He was supposed to be a strong point, and I think we enjoyed it last year when Darius Davis was infused a little bit more in the offense. Now, again, this is way prior to a Keenan Allen, a Trey Harris, and a KLS coming onto this team. Mm-hmm. And obviously a nice third-year season that is being put together by Quentin Johnston. I remember Dan was doing cartwheels in the game that Darius Davis had 2 touchdowns when Greg Roman finally...
When they were using him, yeah.
Yes, when they used him. But no, I don't think there's any argument that there is nothing that you can hang your hat on for Darius Davis and his role for this team this year. But again, who are you going to change him to? You've done so many changes for the special teams unit in general. How much is it really going to improve the needle at this point? I think the special teams unit is the special teams unit at this point in time until someone can prove that they can stand up and make a play.
It's brutal. Let's get some of these questions in the chat. Let's see. The Bills lost not because of 8 sacks and constant pressure. They lost because of 3 turnovers.
Well,
I mean, the sacks didn't help.
No. The Chargers lost because they couldn't protect Justin Herbert, not because they turned the ball over. So it's different for every team. But I think that's I get where Hanan is saying this. If we're talking about like, oh, what's the Houston defense going to do to the Chargers? Well, we've seen it plenty of times this year against weaker defenses. Getting to Justin Herbert, even if he stays turnover free, can change the trajectory of a game, can end the game. So it's not the same one-to-one argument to say, oh, Bills lost that game because of the turnovers, which I get. Turnovers are going to kill any team. But when it comes to the Houston Texans and what they're capable of against this offensive line, yeah, it's a big question to ask.
Oh, man. Jake, any comments or questions in here that you want to highlight?
Looking through these. God, there was apparently a plethora of Darius Davis discussions in here.
I got one. Hanan Derry might be, in addition to Alt and Slater, keep Penning, Zion, and Hart because they help the run game. Bring 5 new guys to make it 10, which means cut Becton, Bozeman, draft 2 or 3, sign 2 or 3.
I think you're definitely going to see 2 or 3 offensive linemen being selected by the draft. And I would hope from the standpoint that you get... Actually, it's probably... Take that back. Again, this is where free agency changes everything. And yes, the Chargers are in the top 3 as far as cap space going into this year. So I would definitely expect them to reload and be more aggressive on day 1 for potential free agents. Everybody highlights Tyler Linderbaum of the Baltimore Ravens if he becomes available, and obviously for good reason. It would continue the Baltimore Ravens to the Los Angeles Chargers pipeline that's been already established by so many different moves. But I think that I don't think that there's any doubt that you're going to see 3 new offensive linemen come to this team, whether that's free agency, the draft combined. No question.
I think you'll see trade back. I hope you see trade backs, and I hope you see at least 2 offensive linemen picked in the first 4 rounds. Give me
I'd say that's fair.
Jake, we've gotten about an hour now. Got about maybe 10 minutes left. A lot of people came here for Chargers talk, but at least one came here for more than that.
April 23rd.
Let's talk about the draft for a second. And I will give you the floor, my friend, because this is like right up your wheelhouse. You could talk Chargers draft. You could talk NFL draft. You could talk draft strategy, whatever it is. Folks in the chat, if you have any questions about the draft, let it be known to Jake, because I got nothing on it so far. But Jake, the floor is yours. 2026 NFL draft, which is crazy to say.
Yeah. Wow.
How is it looking, and what is in the headlights for the Chargers in a few months?
In a macro sense, and then talking about the entirety of the draft, you're talking about a number of different positions. It's more top heavy than it is deep for a majority of positions in this one. And why wouldn't I? The majority of the positions that I have, or players that I focused on, have been the trenches on both sides of the ball. And why not? Because that's where the Chargers have to prioritize. So I haven't spent some time looking at receivers. I haven't spent time looking at cornerbacks, even though cornerback is my favorite position to look into and evaluate. But when you're looking at what the needs are for the upcoming free agents for this team and where their priorities are going to have to rely upon, yeah, it's got to be the trenches in the top priority. Now, we don't know where the Chargers are going to ultimately end up drafting, what position slot they're going to be, who's going to be taken before them. We know that there's so many things that can change between November 22nd and April 23rd. But as it relates to some of the positions, or some of the players specifically, let's start with the best center in college football right now. That's Iowa's Logan Jones. Logan Jones, Dan, is someone who we talked about sparingly through the draft class of the centers last year, who was on the come up of that class. Didn't have the best season last year, but was definitely a more than capable of center that, if you projected him to come out of college football last year, would have been a nice mid-round pick. He has looked like an animal for Iowa this year. And if it wasn't for the injury to Connor Lew from Auburn, he'd probably be center 2, but he's been elevated to center 1, no doubt about it. Be interested to see how high he actually goes. I know I'm in the minority of this, but I'm still a believer in Jake Slaughter. Is he a first-round talent? No. Do I still think that he's been one of the more consistent centers in college football over the last 2 years? I do. I thought he was the most consistent center out of any center that came out of the draft last year, and Jake Slaughter chose to go back to school, back to Florida for this upcoming season. Dan, there's a variety of different options. I'll be interested to see how far Connor Lew drops due to the injury that he suffered, and where teams will actually look to select him, because he's got the ideal frame that you want for a center. He's got that type of power. He's got that type of football IQ and acumen that you want from someone like that. But Logan Jones right now is stealing the show. He's stealing the show, and he's solidifying himself as the first center to predictably come off the board. Now, is it going to be first round? Could be.
So I guess bubbling up a level for a second. Chargers' biggest needs right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is offensive line, but like interior guard, center. Next, you mentioned kind of interior defensive line probably needs to get some beef. Linebacker probably needs to get some improvement. Are those positions? Have you gotten to, other than the offensive line? Have you gotten to linebacker? Have you gotten to interior defensive line?
Yeah, depending on what you're looking for from your defensive line, and again, this all projects upon whether T.R. Tart ends up coming back, as Dan mentioned, Tito. I think Deshaun Hand's also on a 1-year deal as well, so his contract is up, so that's something you have to look at. So you're looking for more of a pass rushing defensive lineman, because if that's the case, you're probably going to be too far down to select some of the premier names in this class. So what you're going to be left with are still some guys that are not so much more dominant in the pass rushing, but more so from the standpoint of what they could do against the run game. Dan, I really like what I've seen from Caden McDonald out of Ohio State. That dude has just been an absolute wall against the run game. And when you look at the majority of his film,
would he pair with Caldwell?
100%. 100%. Those two could be a tandem as it relates to a 1-2 punch. And if you're still developing Jamaree Caldwell's pass rushing skills, which he has, I think that would be a nice combination. But you look at a lot of the tape from Caden McDonald, and there are so many times where he's getting double teamed, where the opposing offensive linemen are putting a lot of attention on him. So I really like what I have seen from him. Other ones that I have gone through and watched, I know that he may not be the ideal pass rusher in terms of his measurables, but I have a great feeling that Cassius Howell out of out of Texas A&M is going to prove all those naysayers wrong. The measurements aren't far off to what Nick Bonito actually measured in. I don't care how undersized he is. I know he's 6'2", it's about 240, but his ability as a pass rusher and his speed to power and the cachet of moves that he can come in with. And again, Dan, we're talking about, once again, somebody, because most likely Khalil Mack is going to retire after this season. And we have no idea whether or not Odafe Oweh is going to see a new
I was
contract.
thinking that too. Like right now, it's just Thule.
So your edge group is going to need a lot of attention.
Yep.
So every normal instinct in me from saying what's a prototypical edge in terms of body size, what can win at the line of scrimmage, should tell me Cassius Howell is going to be a great passer rusher, but he's going to struggle at some point. And every single week I am given reasons to be proven wrong on that. I love Cassius Howell. I love him from what I've seen from him. He's a terrific pass rusher, plays with his hair on fire seemingly every down. I'm really excited to see what he's going to do at the next level.
So there's a lot of time between now and the draft, obviously, but it will be interesting to see kind of like the overarching strategy of it, depending on like where they fall in the NFL draft. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. But to me, now, aside from edge, and you always want to play ahead of the sticks, if you will, especially for the NFL draft. Like if they're going offensive line, I don't know if I'm drafting that in the first round, or at least not early in the first round. Early. Like, I'm not talking tackles, guard, center. Like, again, if let's say they end up in the 20s, all right, fine. Like, that's when you can go get the premier guard, premier center.
Which could be a fair assessment of where the Chargers could end up in the final part of their record between that, say, 16 and 22 mark right now. But Dan, if it's me, Big Vega out of Penn State or Emmanuel Bregnon out of Oregon, those two dudes can move. They are so athletic and so powerful, especially when it comes to the run game. They're going to be able to protect Justin Herbert. They're going to be able to open up holes in the run game. There's no doubt in my mind. I know it's not considered the sexy pick to take a guard in the first round, and I don't care what slot that is, but when you're the Chargers right now, you could do a lot worse. But these two are going to be great offensive linemen at the next level.
And here's the thing, like, and I think sometimes people lose sight of this. Like, as much as we want to poo-poo the Chargers right now, as much as we want to sit here and bag on Joe Hortiz for, the offensive line reinforcements that were or were not brought in, right? Like, roster construction wise, like, they're in a pretty darn good spot. Like, they've got the quarterback, check. I think their wide receiver room is in a pretty good hands. The running back, pretty good hands. I think cornerback, they've got a good young stable there. Safety,
they're going to invest in a cornerback, yes, whether it's free agency or the draft once again, because Joe Ortiz loves to do that.
Yep. You look at the edge group, they've got one in Thule. They got a dude in Jamaree Caldwell. So like they've got their, in my opinion, like rising stars there. They've got Dayon at linebacker. Like they've got the cornerstone. Derwin, obviously, Elijah Molden. We love Tarheeb Still, Cam Hart. Like that stuff's good. Like the sexy picks, right? The things that the Chargers or that teams simply do not win without. Like the Chargers have that. They've got the stable of tackles when healthy. They've got the running backs now, or running back, I should say. Or I don't know what happens with Kamani Vidal. So what is left that they need is kind of like the underbelly or like the unsexy picks. The ones that aren't necessarily picked in the top 10 most years. Like they need the guard, they need the center, they need like the interior defensive line. They probably need an edge, so that would be a sexy pick. So maybe that's a first round selection. But that's where like let Joe Hortiz go to work. Like trade back, get a bunch of picks. Like I'd rather have more second and thirds than a first right now.
Say that again.
I'd rather have more second and thirds. Trade back.
Back for there we go.
But like this is
Music
the type
to my
of
ears.
These are the needs that would warrant that type of stuff. Like if you're needing a wide receiver and you're needing a quarterback or you're needing like starting left tackle, right tackle, like it's hard to get those later rounds. But the positions that the Chargers need, that's where the value is.
As many years as I've been asking for a trade back, which has essentially been the last decade, even through the previous regime, I think I finally might get my wish this year, Dan. And unfortunately, it's because of necessity, because the Chargers only currently, as it stands, have 5 picks for this year. And you need to recoup some of that. And so if you are sitting there in that 16 to 22 range, that actually could be prime real estate for you to trade back at.
Alt over wide receiver wasn't sexy.
No, it was not.
You know what's really interesting to think back, like hindsight?
But it helped.
So think back hindsight. Malik, because it was Malik Neighbors, that was the option. Malik Neighbors versus the one you got, Ladd McConkey. I'm not saying Ladd McConkey is Malik Neighbors, but like, what is the difference between those two? Is it big? Is it small? Like the gap between those talent-wise, production-wise, right? Like, think about that. Just rhetorical question. Like, I think Malik Neighbors is a better receiver, but like the difference between the two isn't like catastrophically big. Now, flip that for a second, Jake. They got him with Joe Alt.
Exactly.
The difference between Joe Alt and pick another one in that draft, doesn't matter where you pick it, it's huge. It's huge. We're a little long here. Jake, anything else? We're getting here. A couple of last questions.
This is partially true. One, Dan knows this for as long as we have been doing this show. I have been asking for a trade back in the first round for God knows how long. Dan knows this. I clamored Tom Telesco to do it at some point during his career, to stand up, to have courage and conviction and actually pull the trigger. And it never happened. And I thought when we got Joe Hortiz, it was going to happen. I even thought when the Chargers had the pick that they ultimately selected, Joe Alt, that they could have executed a nice trade back depending on who was on the roster. It hasn't happened yet. Again, I think it happens this year just from the standpoint of necessity and lack of draft picks that you need to recoup. But honestly, I don't even care what round it's in. So it's for them to say, like, I just want to trade back to say that it was done is partially true. Partially true. But more so, I want it to happen to end up recouping some draft capital. And the fact that, when was the last time the Chargers did a trade back? For the love of God, let's just help ourselves.
Mighty asks, would you rather keep your pick, get one great player, or trade back and get 2 decent players?
Depends on the players.
Depends on the position.
Also, Dan just made the great point about it. There was that conversation. Dan and I know this. Dan and I had our own conversations about this, but everyone seemingly did when it came to, is it going to be Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison for the Chargers? Or is it going to be Joe Alt? And the Chargers ended up going Joe Alt. And in hindsight, because I was going to retort to your question, Dan, as far as to say, okay, between Ladd McConkey and Malik Neighbors, and I think that that's the fairest way that you can say that type of example when you pair it with Joe Alt as far as what you got. Because if we were evaluating them before they go to their respective teams, they're obviously much different type of receivers. Malik Neighbors is obviously the better receiver in terms of what he can provide in offense. But now you look at it to say, who's the bigger value?
Oh, clear.
I mean, you don't think that Justin Herbert would, without Ladd McConkey, what he'd be able or not be able to do as it relates to this offense? It's what they needed. It's what they needed in hindsight. So it works. It works.
Big stretch here. Clearly, understatement. big stretch of games coming up for this Chargers team. Raiders, Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Texans, Broncos. I might put you on the clock here for a second, Jake.
Go ahead.
Guard, center, defensive end, linebacker, edge should be addressing NFL draft and free agent. Let's say that they are in the mid-20s somewhere, low 20s, mid-20s. First round pick if they stay. Which position?
Based on who should, again, we're big difference between November 22nd and April 23rd, but if we're just taking the board for where it's projected right now, that should be your sweet spot in order to pick up one of these top 2 guards in the draft. And honestly, that's probably where I would go.
Okay. I'll put you on the hot seat here for a sec, Jake.
Oh, I thought you just did that.
Oh, no. Another one.
Okay.
November 30th. Raiders. Win or loss?
Oh, here we go.
Just give me first instinct.
It's a must win. It's a must win
they
for
win?
them.
Do they win?
It's a must win. There is no other option.
Okay. Eagles.
Oh, you're going to go through the whole damn thing.
Yep. Watch. Just this is the state of where we're at right now.
I can't see this offensive line, even with a proper scheme, beating that defensive line in pass rush.
Okay. Chiefs. In Arrowhead.
In Arrowhead? No.
At Dallas.
That one I can see as a win.
Do they? I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they win?
Yes.
There's 2. Home against Texans. Oh, you got Hopium coming. Are you gonna do it?
Because I'm going to be wrong on one of these. And as we were kind of talking about leading up to the Pittsburgh game, it's always just those type of situations where you see what the mainstream media or everybody will talk about as far as why the Chargers are going to lose. And trust me, they're probably right in their reasoning behind why they would think the Chargers will lose, because this offensive line is abysmal. But at some point in time, Greg Roman's going to wake up on the side of the bed and actually have a great game plan. The team collectively is going to be executing at a high level. Justin Herbert is going to play Superman. He's going to make 5 or 7 of those big-time plays that ends up leading them to a win that nobody thought they were going to have any business being in a game.
Like the Steelers.
So I know one of these games I'm going to be completely wrong in my predictions.
Yeah, the coin has landed tails 14 times in a row. It's bound to land heads once.
Tell you what, I will say it's either going to be the Houston game or it's going to be the Philly game.
That they win.
That the Chargers are going to get one of those wins.
Okay, so if they win the Raiders game, they win the Dallas one, and then win one of the Texans-Eagles games, that's 10 wins. And then week 18, Broncos.
Dan, if it plays out the way that you wanted to predict, to say if Denver's got the division wrapped up and they're not playing their starters, that's an easy one that you could say that they could win. But on the surface level, if that still game means something for Denver, then no, I don't see them winning that game.
So you've got 10 wins for the Chargers team, even with all of the rain and thunder and lightning that's come down on this Chargers team. Okay. I forgot luck. I think we beat Philly to get rocked by Houston.
Probably something that could happen.
I said anytime this Chargers offense goes up against a defensive front, I am scared. And that's why like that Steelers game was so like, what? Who is this?
Yeah, who is this team?
Who is this? So could it happen? Sure. Will it? I don't know. Peaky Bulls. Sean Payton is not resting players week 18 because of his ego. Trust that.
Well, I don't know. Brandon Staley did the exact same thing a couple years ago and got Mike Williams hurt.
Shout out.
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Don't worry, Herbert will come back well rested because he's sleeping with beer.
No comment.
Okay, this is fun. Therapeutic, I would say, at times. We went through NFL draft stuff. We went through Charger State of the Union. We went through Q&A. Got to some Chargers Unleashed hotline voicemails. We get a relaxing Sunday hopefully all of the AFC loses or ties. I'm fine with that. And Chargers get healthy. We'll see what the injury report looks like next week. But look, this is as much as you want to do the woe is me thing, it's not just the Chargers that have a rough road ahead. Like, there's a lot of teams that are looking at their upcoming schedule and being like, "Oh, this is going to be tough. It's going to be tough." So just do your job. Do your job. That's all you got to do. We'll see. Jake, anything else before we get out of here?
No, it's been a good Saturday conversation. Wish we could have actually come on with you guys sooner this week. Unfortunately, just had a lot of things take place that's outside of work or anything else that took a little bit more precedence. But happy to be back. Happy to be talking Chargers football. And we will be back early next week to preview Raider week. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, echo Jake's comments. It's been a hard week. Let's put it at that. Tell your loved ones, enjoy the things that you have, focus on things you have versus the things you don't. This Chargers team looking to get healthy. All of us looking to get healthy, looking to get some more sleep, please, for the love of all things holy. And we will be back strong. We'll use this as a bye week for all of us, okay? But until then, Jake, appreciate you, buddy, as always. Enjoy the bye, chaps. Hanan Derry says, good pod, guys. Need the Colts to clutch up tomorrow. They're off a bye too. Man, I would love to see the Colts just beat the brakes off the Chiefs.
It'd be good.
That would be wonderful. For Jake, I am Dan. This is Chargers Unleashed. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time on Chargers Unleashed.